This video got me 300,000 followers.
Hallelujah! What most people are making with film crews and expensive gear, Karen Chang is making alone with a smartphone, and everyone is hitting her up to collaborate.
I can kind of get like a halfway good result with like 1% of the budget.
But for Karen, low budget doesn't mean low craft.
I have to do 10, 20 takes. I need to change the lighting or change the angle.
And her behind-the-scenes reveals are equally incredible and show just as much of Karen's chops as a visual mastermind.
For every single thing I post, I want to learn one new thing. When I show my behind the scenes, my videos were just performing so much better. And then I started thinking about behind the scenes as the art form itself. If I have to explain it in 3 seconds, that shot needs to be so clear.
While Karen's gained an insane amount of traction in just a few years, her approach to creation is pretty counterintuitive, and I find it really refreshing.
I made a very conscious decision to actively stop trying to grow my followers and to be proud of the videos that lose me followers.
Karen is here showing us how she's mastered the art of inventive, low-budget videos and put innovative filmmaking right in the pockets of 500 million collective viewers. I'm so psyched to dive into your work. You are one of my favorite creators ever, I think. I feel the way about you that I felt about Michel Gondry when I saw his work for the first time. No, I know, and I'm not buttering you up. I don't say that to I don't. When I watch your stuff, I'm like, there's just so much more that you can do as a creative person. There's so many more things that people have never explored, and you explore them. You are on the absolute cutting edge frontier of creativity and technology, and it is so special, and I'm so excited to be able to dive into your work. So that's what I want to do today.
Wow. Thank you for way hyping me up.
All right. let's here we go. Tell us about this video.
So this video blew up. At that point, I think I had like 15,000 followers, and each 100 followers that I was gaining was a grind. And I would have these videos sometimes get lots of views, but they wouldn't convert into very many followers. I released this video, which was a compilation of 5 of my clips around a theme. And the next day when I woke up, it was 100,000 followers.
In one night?
In one night. After I was grinding for months for 100 followers at a time.
Why did this get people to follow you?
The compilation format. So I recommend this to a lot of creators. Take your best 3 to 5 pieces of work, tie it together in a theme or a headline, and then put them out as a compilation. And the reason is because rather than it just being it's a fun video here and there, it becomes an advertisement for you. And it's subconscious. People are like, oh, I see this example she did. I see this example she did. I see this example she did. There's more where that came from. And if I want more where that came from, I can just easily follow.
So that is the experience I have watching this. When I see this video, 5 of those things in a row, I'm like, oh shit, this person's got ideas. They've got ideas, and if I follow them, I'm gonna learn how they think about the world, and it's gonna inspire me creatively.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep watching. Okay, I'm gonna stop again. Because the other way to maybe think about this is you show us a magic trick and we go, oh my God, that magic trick is amazing. She's incredible. And then you show us how to do the magic trick. And it looks really easy and accessible.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful thing to be putting in the world. And so I wonder, do you think about that feeling, I can do that, when you're is that the purpose behind low budget? Why low budget? What is it that's attractive about low budget to you?
Yeah. When I first started creating this stuff, I didn't know how to make it myself. And so I would look at all these people doing expensive gear, expensive lighting, crews, thinking I would need to do all of that stuff. And then when I started learning some of this stuff, I was like, I can kind of get a halfway good result with 1% of the budget. It's the 80-20 rule. So, and so I started doing that, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I can achieve good enough with very little. And then I realized when I show my behind the scenes, my videos were just performing so much better. Mm. And then I started thinking about behind the scenes as the art form itself. So these videos are actually not about the result. They're about the behind the scenes. If I posted the results, none of them would have gone viral or popped off at all. But it's about how they were made. And so I spend actually more time thinking about how I'm going to show the behind the scenes shot. And sometimes I intentionally make the behind the scenes shot look shitty compared to the result. I shoot on the phone for the behind the scenes, and then sometimes I'll even like blow up the footage and then compress it and then so that it looks like it was shot on a worse camera than it was. So the fishing rod shot is like that. It was like, oh, the behind the scenes originally was really high res, but that made the stairwell shot look bad in comparison. I was like, I need the stairwell shot to look a little better. How will I do that? Let me just degrade this. So I just made this look like a lot worse. It just looks pretty grainy.
That's so funny. You know what's so amazing about that is like, one of the things that we noticed early on with Pomplamoose, if we made the music sound really good, which is what we did and what we liked doing and what gave us artistic fulfillment.
Yes.
The trick was to make the video look really bad. Because then people would be like, oh my God, you can make really good sounding records and have a really crappy like apartment that like I have. And something about the pixelated, shitty, desaturated footage makes it feel so homemade.
Yes.
And the squiggly arrows and the graininess.
Yeah.
It just does, it feels like a low budge operation.
Right. Which it was. But then I had this nice iPhone camera and I'm like, no, that's not the vibe I'm going for. I want it to feel like homemade.
And that leads me to this idea that you and I have discussed previously around utility.
Yeah.
The idea that like each post is a thing of value to other people. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you think about it. How do you think about utility and value when you make posts?
Yeah. So if you see just one of these videos, it's just a cool video. It's a cool idea. But then when you saw them all back to back, you think about the person instead. In terms of the utility, whenever I post anything, I really think like, how can it be at least somewhat useful to someone in some way?
And how do you square that? Because it's one of the things I struggle with as a creator is like, that is a very externally focused endeavor. How is this? You're very much thinking about audience, thinking about other people.
Yeah.
But as a creative person, I also want to do what I want to do and what's in my heart.
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile those two concepts?
Okay. I usually try to find the intersection, but I always prioritize myself. So I always prioritize what do I want to do because I'm very bad at doing things that I'm not interested in. Like the result is just not going to be very good. Mm-hmm. So I always prioritize what am I interested in. I try to find the intersection between that and what the audience is interested in. But when I can find no intersection, I'll just do what I want to do and I'll release it and I will know it's going to be a flop in video views and I will accept that. Mm. But then I'll try to put at least something useful in the caption. So like, is there like a lesson I learned somewhere along the way? Even if the content is not that useful for the audience, can I put something?
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, wait, we gotta talk. So this is the other thing I think that's like really special about your videos. You've got this banner on top the whole time. Like these are little details that are like, oh, no wonder she got 100,000 followers overnight. But let's talk about this storytelling. I immediately see the waves. I see the selfie stick. I know that's what created the shot. But then it's this next shot of you holding a phone, zooming out, and then you tilt down and you show us, hey, I can change how this looks by the position of the phone. And all this feels like, oh, I can get that app. I can make that.
Yeah.
But you tell this whole story in like 3 seconds. How have you gotten so good at telling stories in such a short amount of time?
I think it's like my attention span myself is not that high. And so whenever I have to go to a YouTube video, I'm just like, oh my God, I have to like scrub and try to find the spot. I just want to get to the point. So then I'm just trimming here and there and trimming here and there until like all the fat is removed. And then I will constantly think about like, how can I explain things in the headlines? How can I shorten things to make things more clear to understand?
Do you edit all the clips yourself?
Most of them. Okay. Not all of them, but a lot of the low budget stuff I did edit myself. In terms of like showing stuff, like behind the scenes, for example, it's usually not the actual behind the scenes that we did. I usually have to go back and get the behind the scenes again because I can find an angle that's more easy to explain. What I will do is because sometimes for these shots, like I have to do so many takes, like 10, 20 takes. I'm not going to capture behind the scenes on every single one, but I do like maybe 20 takes because I'm figuring out like I need to change the lighting or change the angle or change all these things. And then once I finally get it, I'm like, okay, that was the one. Okay, now we'll do the behind the scenes. And then oftentimes behind the scenes is just not clear from the angle. And so we'll design the behind the scenes.
Makes so much sense. Let's keep going. These, like, do you work with other editors? Do you have a team? What is how do these come together?
So my early stuff is all edited by me. So that one was edited entirely by me.
Okay.
And then
And the compilation too.
the compilation as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long does it take to like edit together a compilation for yourself?
That compilation probably took a day or two to edit because all the clips were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I like sent variations to different people. And then I'll also ask them like, hey, of these 5 clips, which one is the strongest and which one's the least strong? Because storytelling principles, you want your strongest clips to be first and last. And then your second strongest clip should also be the other first or last.
And now, do you work with editors, and have you built a bigger team, or what's the status?
I do work with editors now, and then maybe like half of my stuff is edited by other people, and half of it's still myself.
And is it like, do you meet people at parties? Do you like ask other creators? Like literally, how do you get connected to the editors?
I hire everyone on Instagram.
So you like peruse Instagram channels that are good at storytelling, and then you hire those creators to be editors for you. What a great idea. So, okay, are you just opening up your feed, and when you see something that's well edited, you mark it for yourself? Like literally, how are you?
So every time I see something that I like, then I will just DM that creator immediately. I'll be like, hey, love your stuff. And then a lot of those times I'll tap them later as for an editing project.
So cool. Okay, let's keep watching. Okay, another compilation video.
Yeah.
So did this one come second? Did this one come after the?
Yeah. That first one, I was like, oh, the compilation video works. Let me only make compilations from here on out. That goes against sort of like what you would expect because Instagram and YouTube and all these social media algorithms are like pump out content frequently. So the desire is you release a clip as soon as you have it. But I had to like hold these clips and like hoard them until I had enough for a compilation. And so I don't post as often, but I know that if I can hold them and put them into compilation, I'll get not 10x or 100x, but like 1,000x the number of followers. So it did pay off. And this video actually, before I posted it, I really didn't like this video.
From a compilation perspective?
No, the shots themselves, like the results just don't look that stunning. But I had to post it because it was a client project.
Was this like an Insta360 project?
It was for Adobe.
Okay.
So I was like contractually obligated to post it. Thank goodness I was, because this video got me 300,000 followers.
Triple what you got from the last one.
Yeah. 300,000 of my followers are from this video.
Is that the biggest thing you've ever released?
One, yeah.
I mean, that's insane. It's because, again, I mean, the same concept. The ideas are really good. You know, it's the magic trick. It's 5 clips again. Is it 5 clips?
This one's only 3.
3 clips.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for compilation, you only need 3.
Got it.
I actually have 2 versions of this. I think the one on my Instagram doesn't have a voiceover, but on TikTok I posted 2 versions. So my philosophy for my content is like for every single thing I post, I want to learn one new thing. So I try to do at least some sort of experiment for every single thing I do. And so for this one, the experiment was voiceover or no voiceover. And so I made 2 versions, one that was just music, which is the one you just saw, and then one with a voiceover. And I like polled a bunch of my friends, like, hey, which one do you prefer? Most of them that I trusted preferred the one without a voiceover. I was like, okay. And then on TikTok, I posted both. Because on Instagram, you can't really post both because of the culture on Instagram, but on TikTok, you can totally post both. And so I posted both on TikTok, and then I saw that the one with the voiceover was blowing up way more than the one without the voiceover. And now you'll see that all my videos, every single video after that, now has a voiceover.
There's so much I want to unpack there. So you said you try to learn something with each video. We've seen a couple videos that have voiceover. What are some other things that you've learned about your videos that you've tested and found success in, or not?
So first learning, show the behind the scenes. Second learning, it's really about making the behind the scenes interesting, and it's less about the result. Then I learned if you want a lot of followers, the compilation format can get you really far. Then I experimented with a call to action at the end. I think a lot of creators are like, follow or like or subscribe. I don't say that. I always just say, more ideas on my page with the handle.
What's the thinking there? Why say that?
Because when you say like or subscribe, it's about like the benefit to me. But then when I say more ideas on my page, it's about what the benefit would be to you.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God. It's so infuriating how that is such a core idea. Like, lead with what you get, not with what I get.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, what else? What else have you learned?
Voiceover is performing really well. And then more recently, you mentioned this, my content is more tutorial in-depth stuff. Tutorial in-depth stuff did not used to perform well on Instagram, even like a year and a half ago. And then I posted one, not because I wanted to, but like actually just kind of for a client. And I was like, this is performing super well. And I realized Instagram had made a change in their algorithm, that they were doing a much better job of finding creators. So for the first like 2 to 3 years of Instagram Reels was really, I would call it a very dumb algorithm. It was just pumping out videos to the masses. And so the videos that had the most mass appeal would do well. Whereas TikTok, it's like a drone that will, like it knows who will love each video. And so you could make very, very specific and quirky things on TikTok and it would find the right person. Instagram Reels wasn't doing that. More recently, I think Instagram Reels is doing that because now you can make very, very specific, like in-depth VFX tutorials and they'll get tons of views because they're finding the right audience.
Let's keep watching.
I'm trying to recreate the Matrix on a budget.
Okay, this is clearly post-voiceover learning, right?
Yes, and actually this was a halfway failed experiment because I was like, oh, what if I release the clips one at a time, but be like, and there's a part 2, and there's a part 3, and there's a part 4. And I tried that, it did not work very well. And so after that, I was like, okay, I'm going back to the like compilation format.
So then, okay, so are you still in compilation mode?
No, I don't do that anymore because that was when I was really optimizing for growing followers, and that is no longer my like primary goal.
Tell me about that. There seems like there's something there.
I think you can only chase followers for so long. Like it's a very extrinsic validation, and I think anytime you're seeking external validation, it's hard to keep up forever without it really taking a toll on you. I was just reaching diminishing returns from gaining followers. Like it wasn't really feeling that enjoyable for me. And I like paid attention to like, okay, what am I actually enjoying? I'm enjoying making what I want. And so I made a very conscious decision to not just like not focus on growing my followers, but to actively stop trying to grow my followers and to be proud of the videos that lose me followers. For this one, I'm really thinking, how can I shove my idea into a mass appeal wrapping paper? And so for example, I'm like, okay, people like Matrix, right? I'm like trying to like take cultural references and like smash them together to like juice up my views, right? And then now I'm like, okay, what do I think is a really cool idea? And I've noticed a lot of times like the work that I'm most proud of gets the least amount of views. And a lot of times like that really bothered me at first. Like I remember the first times that I was like, this idea is so good, like it's so good, it's gonna blow up, and then it would flop like harder than anything else, and I'd be like so confused about that. But now I understand. It's that like, I think for me, I really enjoy pushing the boundaries. And when you push the boundaries by definition, that's not gonna overlap with mass appeal a lot of the time.
What do you mean by pushing the boundaries? Like pushing the boundaries on what?
For me, I think it's like, I like trying to think of an idea that hasn't quite been done before, or at least have my own original twist on an idea. So I'm very novelty seeking, so I like to just think of like what's new. And that's very motivating to me. And so over time, I've really prioritized, hey, what's like the idea that I want to do? And I feel like that can keep me going for much longer. There was a quote that I saw that was really helpful. Seek respect, not attention. It lasts longer.
Whoa.
When I saw that, I literally just stopped and then I like wrote it down and I like stuck it on my wall so I would remember that, because I think me and a lot of other content creators feel like we're running on a never-ending hamster wheel, constantly chasing attention. There's no end in sight. As soon as you stop, the attention stops. And you have to post every day or every week, and it's exhausting. And I was feeling that way. And then when I saw that quote, I was like, oh, if I make fewer things that maybe don't appeal to the masses, but like the people that I respect like them, that's gonna stay in someone's head for a lot longer. And I have had people approach me about a video I made like a year ago or 5 years ago or even 10 years ago. And so it's like, oh, if I can make stuff that is more memorable, I don't have to be pushing out content every day or every week. Obviously, the algorithm doesn't incentivize that, but I think that's what I personally need to keep saying.
I think that's what everybody needs.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel that. Everybody that I talk to feels that. The thing that I think is in the air is just people want permission to make great things. People just want to make great stuff that they're proud of and love. And there's this tension between that and feeding the beast.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's exhausting.
I have a strategy for that. One for me, one for the crowd. So then you do one just for you. And for that one, you do not look at any metrics. You do not measure yourself by the metrics whatsoever. And in fact, give yourself permission to, when you see it flop, be like, that's good. Because that means I was willing to do something that didn't appeal to the masses. And then you do one for the crowd because you have business goals and objectives and you have to feed a team or feed yourself or whatever it is. And then over time, you can adjust the ratio. So like when you need to make more money, you can make more for the crowd. And then when you are good, then you can make more for yourself. And so I change the ratio based on like where I am.
Let's keep watching.
Okay.
What gave you the idea for that compilation? Did you make that start to finish?
Yeah. Okay. So this was the first compilation that I made after my first compilation went viral. And I was like, compilations, it's where it's at. So then I just started grouping all my content into themes. Like, okay, one could be drone shots, one could be household objects, one could be like brooms, Swiffers. I just started slotting them into categories. And then for each one, I needed to find at least 3 examples. And so for the drone one, I was like, okay, I have like 2. I have like the long stick and the fishing rod, but I needed a few more. And then I was like walking around one day and I saw someone flying a kite. And I was like, that could be a drone shot. And so we made that one work. I want to go back to the first frame. So that sign, I brought that sign there. I mean, drones were not allowed there, but I was like, let's just make it really clear.
Again, you're telling the story. You're just yeah. And but then you also added text here.
Yeah. So it was both.
Yeah.
So maybe I didn't have to have the sign there, but I thought it would be funny.
Okay, let's watch the next one. I think after I saw this video, I think I texted you or something. Because I was just like, damn it, Karen.
Don't have a drone? Here's how you can get the shot with your
Okay, so off the bat, you've learned voiceover. You also have the text.
Which was very deliberate. Like, I had so many different variations of the title here, but it needed to be succinct and it needed to have the word you in it.
Why?
Because you shows the benefit to you. So it's like if I just said, use phone to get drone shots, it doesn't like speak to you as much as get drone shots with your phone. Your phone.
Okay, so this first bit of the video is in fast mo.
Don't have a drone? Here's how you can get the shot with your phone.
So that first clip is maybe two seconds.
Okay, so I really timed this out. So I edited this one, and in my editor, I'm like, how long does it take to get to the point? And I really try to hit that in less than 3 seconds. And so I'm literally counting the like, is it 1.2, 1.7 seconds, 2.1 seconds? And then I'm playing with how fast am I doing that speed ramp, this first speed ramp, so that I can get to that point, which is the actual shot, in less than 3 seconds. And this one might be less than 2 seconds.
Why don't you just start with the drone shot?
Okay, so that's another thing that I've tested before. So I have tested result first, then BTS, or BTS first, then result. Counterintuitive, you would think that you would do the result first and then the BTS because you want to hook people with the impressive result and then show the BTS, right? I find that only really works if you're doing some sort of like magic reveal, you know? If you're not doing some sort of magic reveal, it's almost always better to do behind the scenes first and then the result. Because the behind the scenes shows you it's relatable. And then also you create an arc of like unimpressive, impressive, as opposed to impressive, unimpressive.
Interesting.
Unless your behind the scenes is very, very comical or like there's something really special about it. But if it's just like an explanation, it's best to put the behind the scenes first.
And let's see that reveal.
Yep, you can make this entirely on your phone, and it's easier than it looks.
Okay, why did you choose the text tutorial right there?
I think I just wanted to make it really, really clear to people that they were going to learn this. Because I've done these things before where I just show like, I make it, but I don't actually go into like the step-by-step of how I was going to make it. And the reason why before I didn't do tutorial was because it was too hard. You had to have like $3,000 graphics cards. You had to have very specific machinery. You had to have, like, it would have to be like a 30-minute long YouTube tutorial. And so I waited until the technology got good enough. And once the technology did get good enough where you can make with your phone, then I made the tutorial.
And this technology in this case is?
The technology is Nerfs. And Nerfs used to be very difficult to make. But now there's iPhone apps that make it very, very easy. Can I dive into one of the frames?
Do it.
We have not very little. Okay, like this basketball shot. A week before, we scanned 5 different basketball courts and got like 3D scans of each one of them so I could see which one was going to work the best. And this one ended up working the best because it was a highway. It was like a cool like aerial shot.
And then you go on to make the tutorial. And again, I want to watch the rest of the tutorial because to me, the tutorial is like as artful as the clip itself, just because it's so well explained.
With your phone. Yep, you can make this entirely on your phone, and it's easier than it looks. First, have a friend stay perfectly still while you go around them in circles. This is what my footage looks like. Notice I got the top of her head and some of the surrounding environments. Then we're gonna use the Luma app. You'll upload your footage, and 10 minutes later, you'll have a Nerf. And here's how you could edit it, manually setting the keyframes one at a time. But we don't have to do that because now there's an easier way. The trick is to use the AR feature. Now you can just walk through the scene just like in real life. So much easier.
How much did you experiment with the behind the scenes storytelling here? Like that shot that you just did of moving the phone backwards. That is such an interesting thing to see. In other words, we can see it the whole time and it just kind of works. Do you do like 5 versions of the shot before you find the right one?
This was so hard to explain. We were in there. I tried like this around the subject. I tried like this around the subject. I tried like moving further versus away. I realized that worked. Then like with my camera person, we tried when she was like following me versus not, versus her staying static. And then like we had to play with it so that we wouldn't get glare on the screen. So there was a lot of takes to figure out this. This was one of the hardest parts of the shoot, was figuring out how can we explain this AR feature.
And how long does like to make the tutorial part, the behind the scenes part? How long? How many shots? How many days? Like how does that come together?
This tutorial probably just a few hours to shoot, but it took longer than I thought it was going to be because it was just very hard to explain it. And then
do you write out a script first?
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, I write out the whole script, and then I have to make adjustments along the way.
And so then you're looking for shots that explain each element of the script?
Yeah. So I'll usually write my voiceover first, and then what each scene is going to be. And then I'll get all that stuff. And then in the edit, I end up having to cut things or change things, and then I'll redo the voiceover. And oftentimes the final voiceover is quite a bit different than the original.
So you're sort of in an agile way changing the voiceover as you realize, oh, I may not need that because I can explain that visually.
Yeah,
and you just sort
exactly.
Of
So it's just sort of like back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I am so grateful to you for
Thank you so much.
taking the time and doing this. I think you're so special, Karen. This stuff is like you're one of my favorite creators in the absolute world, and it's such a pleasure to get to hear how you think about this stuff. Thank you.